All right, we're going to go over a couple stances here. And again, uh-oh, buddy just saw me. Hi, buddy. Couple of stances. Now, we talked about grip and draw, and depending on where you carried your gun, I've got a pistol draw here. This is just a hip draw. So I can either slide this forward more if I want it here more. I can slide it back more if I wanted to conceal it more, and then reach behind my back. I want to reach to where it's normal, to where when I reach down here, it's pretty comfortable. So I'm going to have it about right there, so when I reach, I can come up. Now, there's the old saying, smooth is fast, or slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. So by drawing the gun slow and smooth, when you're learning, will help develop those muscle movements. So if you get your gun out 5,000 times, remember, pulling a gun 5,000 times, but we're going to go over a couple different draws. Remember, when I draw my gun, I want to be high on the back strap. I want to get a good grip. These three fingers are going to wrap. If I have a safety, I'm going to click that safety off as I'm drawing. That's why I prefer guns with no safety. That's one less step I'm taking out. Those three fingers are going to rip. I'm going to come up, and then I take my second hand as I'm coming up, and I wrap those fingers right here on this grip. So this is my stance this way. This is my grip this way. And this is the grip this way. Again, now the two stances, the two most common stances that people use is either going to be your isosceles or your weaver. Now, isosceles is from the isosceles triangle. You basically keep your feet level to the ground. Let me back up a little bit here. Feet are level to the ground. I'm square on the target, my body's square, and I'm leaning a little forward on my toes and bending my knees. Remember, if I can't lean back a little bit in my stance, I'm going to fall over if I lean back when I'm shooting. So if you're in a position and you're standing flat like this, and I come up to you and I touch your head and I push back and you move your feet, you got a bad stance. When I get a stance like this, I need to be forward. So if you push on me, I can move back and I can give. I'm not losing my balance because my weight's forward and I'm kind of squatted. They call this a fetal position. When somebody jumps into the fetal position, it's a natural instinct. When we get scared or nervous, we get in a squat, ready to jump, fight, our large muscle groups. Remember we talked about that fight or flight? All these things happen. So if you talk to anybody that's been a natural, I remember this one old dude we shot, Cirillo. He was like in 6 or 8 shootings in New York. He worked a bank robbery detail, so they'd stake out banks when they thought these guys were going to rob it after they got a routine. And he'd be in there when it went down, they'd be in big shootouts. And of course, back then they used dirty powder, so if you try to get a picture, the whole room is full of smoke. Now they've got better smokeless powder and your guns don't smoke as much. But anyway, most of their shootings were from me to the camera, 5 to 7 feet. And when it happened, it was like, holy, bang, 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 and they're both moving and then nobody hit anybody. There was where they caught robbers, and both the robber and the cop shot 6, reloaded and shot 6 more, 12, 24 rounds were fired, and nobody was hit. Because it got so smoky, but you could kind of see a shadow, so you were just shooting. And I talked about that before. Everybody wants to crack on why cops miss a lot of shots. Why are cops always not hitting their target? As much as they train, as much effort as they put in, why can't they hit their freaking target? If you put somebody in front of me with this camera and I see this camera, I can draw and I can take out this camera pretty much every time. Easy, no problem. Because I know and I'm thought, I don't have to worry about, there's no evaluation phase. I've got one thing to think about, that camera. Draw, point, aim, squeeze. I'm on the camera. Now, that's easy. Anybody can hit a target like that, and that's how we train. Unfortunately, when shit hits a fan, it's not like that. And cops are always reacting. Reaction is always slower than action. If I stand in front of you and I say, okay, I want you to block my hand when I slap you, and you're standing there, okay, I'm ready, wham, I slap you, and you're like, man, you didn't give me. That's because action is faster than reaction. Take a $1 bill and drop it. Hi, Moki. Hi, Moki. What are you doing? Did you want to come shoot the little gun? Moki, shoot the little gun. Boom, boom, boom. Shoot it, Moki. So, action is always faster than reaction. If I take a $1 bill and drop it, and you don't know when I'm going to let it go, and I tell you to keep your hands forward and drop a $1 bill, you'll never catch it unless you move down. Because your reaction when I drop it, your mind has to say, it's let go, grab it now, and by the time it sends that signal and you close your hand, the dollar's already through it. Monkey, are you gonna make me step on your tail? Monkey, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're a good old kitty. Alright, action's faster than reaction. So, why are cops always losing? Because we're going to something to talk to somebody. We don't know they're gonna draw a gun. By the time they draw a gun and we know they're gonna draw a gun, we are reacting to their action. Which is why if you're carrying concealed, you have the advantage over a bad guy if he doesn't know you're armed. If your gun is covered up and you're sitting in a booth and a guy comes in to rob a place, you don't want to go, hey, I got a concealed weapons permit, I'm going to you better get out of here. No, you don't want to do that, because then you lose your advantage of having action and making him react. Smokey's laying on the camera. This cat loves laying on the camera when I'm filming. So action is faster than reaction, and that's why cops miss, and you always want to keep that advantage. You don't want a guy to know that you're going to shoot him until you're squeezing a trigger, ideally. Now, as a cop, we have to do other things. There's case law out there that says I do not have to warn you if I endanger other suspects. If you're robbing a bank and there's a whole bunch of people there and you've got a gun on a teller, if I draw my gun and say, please stop, drop the gun, you may spin, try to shoot me, you may shoot the teller, you may shoot you may start firing, and I've endangered all these people because I warned you. So people go, oh man, you can't shoot a guy in the back. Bullshit. You bet you I'm gonna shoot him in the back. If you got a robber and you don't know I'm armed and you don't know I'm there, I'm coming up behind you and I'll put this right in your head, boom, and just take you out. I will not. Now, what I just did right there is almost lasered myself, and we're gonna talk about lasering a little later. I did talk about that. But be careful when you have a blue gun. Even though this gun's empty, no one else is around. I've already cleared it. Okay, trigger squeeze, it's a single action, so now I can't even pull the trigger if I wanted to. No magazine. But when you're drawing a gun and doing things, even though it's not loaded, you don't want to get in the habit of lasering. I don't want to get in the habit of doing this. Even though I know the gun's safe, your muzzle doesn't sweep or doesn't laser anybody or anything you don't want to shoot. I don't want to laser an animal, I don't want to laser myself, I don't want to laser my feet, I don't want to laser my arm, I don't want to laser... Smokey, leave your camera alone, I'll beat you, boy. So, when you're doing an action versus reaction, remember that. You have to understand that any advantage you have, and that's why I'm so stressed on this muscle memory. I'm getting you programmed. I want you to do things instinctively. When I draw this gun all these times in here, you're not seeing me looking down at the gun. It's very common for new people, when they draw the gun, they look, they watch it come out, they make sure they don't sweep their hand, because I've seen some people train to where they draw their gun, their hands here, they're trying to hurl it, and they sweep it as they're coming out. That's a good way to shoot your hand off. You'll notice when I'm doing this, I'm always coming in after my barrel clears. I'm coming in later. Those are little things that people don't see, and I'm not looking at my holster. When I'm doing this, and I'm setting this down, I'm still evaluating the scene. I don't want to be, that's why I see people, if you go to these competitions sometimes, I want to check the time here and make sure I'm not over time. I'm going to kick Smokey. Okay, I'm at 8 minutes. I'm pretty good. Smokey, get out of here. I just kicked. It's okay. He looked at me like, dude, what's up? Okay, so remember, when you're drawing a gun, it should be instinctual. I shouldn't have to look down. I shouldn't have to feel, where's my, let me get my grip. All right, 3 fingers. Rick said 3 fingers. Okay, draw, and then point at the target immediately. Okay, some people will come out here and they don't point at the target till they get way up here. Ideally, when you're drawing, you want this gun on target. I can shoot right now, and we'll do that later. We'll be doing some shooting from here. We'll be pushing the target and shooting from here. As we back away and create distance, we'll come in and we'll shoot standing up. But remember, when you're drawing a gun, all these things have to be instinctual. You have to be able to reach, grab, not sweep your hand, and get that gun on target as quick as you can. Now, there's other terms that you're going to hear me using, like a high ready. Some people will call this just a ready position. I call this a low ready. I call this a high ready. I can pretty much shoot in either of these positions. Here, I've got a little bit of lag time to come up on target. If a guy's walking in front of me, I've got to do this, let him clear, and then I'll come back up to my high ready. So when I'm moving through an area, if a guy jumps out with a gun, I can shoot. I don't have to go, shit, guy, let me raise my gun and shoot. I want to take out that lag time. I want to remove that thought process. So back to the two stances. Isosceles, feet, triangle, straight out. Again, when you're stressed and you're in panic mode, your body instinctively goes into fight or flight. You go into what's called the fetal position. People are hurt, stressed out, have a nervous breakdown. You see them balled up in a fetal position. The body finds comforts, it's instinctive. It's kind of a balling to protect himself. You see some guy getting beat, he balls up. See some guy fall sometime, they ball up. If a bear attacks you, you ball up. It's a protective mechanism. When somebody starts shooting you with a gun, instinctively you will ball up. That's why some people say the isosceles stance is the way to go. Because if you do isosceles, instinctively your body's going to do it anyway. And even though we train with the weaver a lot, bladed stance a little bit more aggressive, you still see in videos, when we catch shootings in video, most of the cops who are trained like this shoot like this. Because they go into oh shit mode, they're like, ah! It's just instinctive. Oh, ah! You just do it instinctively. So even though you train a lot with your weaver, you're still likely to go into that. And that's okay. That's why you should know both positions. I don't think you ought to have one position. You can only shoot, and when somebody starts telling me only and always, I don't like that. Isosceles, feet level. I don't like this position because it doesn't give me as good as balance. It's not as aggressive. It's not a fighting stance. I can't use my gun. I can't use this back foot to push off and to lunge if something hits me to absorb the recoil. I like this fighting stance, and a weaver stance is more of a fighting stance. I'm in this fighting stance a little bit more with my gun and I'm shooting. Now there's pros and cons of both those. Again, let me check my time. Okay, I'm at 12 minutes here. So let me just try to go over without going off on all my different pros and cons explanations. Isosceles, triangle. There's my 3 points. 1, 2, 3. Gun comes straight up. Both arms are locked. You'll notice some of those other videos, both arms are locked. On a weaver bladed stance, 60-40, some people call it 70-30, your weight's shifted a little bit different. This arm is locked, this one is bent and pulling this gun down and back. Okay, so this arm is locked, this arm is bent. And it's a push-pull. I'm pushing this gun, get a little bit closer. I'm pushing this gun into my second hand and creating this draw, which really keeps the gun from climbing. It really keeps the gun from. Now, can I do that with a isosceles? Sure I can. But this will give me a little bit more climb than this, because I've got this hand and I'm pulling down. When they're both out here, I can still pull down and shoot and recover. I just like the weaver a little bit, I guess because I was trained and I did it more. So those are the two main stances. In this part 2, I will go over the pros and cons, what people like about one, what they don't like about the other. And again, don't beat yourself up. Hopefully you're trying these things, you're getting the feel. If you have a gun, you're dry firing, you're doing things that will help you make these things second nature, will help you develop that muscle memory, will help you do things so many times you don't have to think about it. And then you'll find out what feels comfortable, what feels stable. And you may do this with an empty gun now without shooting, and then when you get to the range and you start shooting, you may modify it. There's a stance a lot of people call the modified weaver, where you modify it a little bit, or the modified isosceles. That's okay. You do with what works, but again, results is usually the key. If you're not hitting your target, you're just making smoke and a lot of noise. You might be buying a little bit of time, you might be making a guy keep his head down, but ideally, you want to hit your target so he can't hurt you or continue his attack or aggressive behavior towards you. And if you can't hit your target, then, you know, he may have time to hit his target once you run out of bullets because you're spraying and praying or shooting and screaming. So we're at 15 minutes. I'll make a part 2 on the two stances, the weaver and the isosceles. We'll go over these and talk about pros and cons, etc. All right, Buddy, Miss T, you're a good boy. Smokey, what are you doing over there? I see you over there getting in trouble. Smokey, what are you doing? Mokey, Mokey, Mokey. Must have him a mouse. Well, in that there.